And one of the stats, we like to track usage now. That's a very important thing at DFC Intelligence is we want to make sure to track usage because we think that's going to be the most important metric going forward. And so we looked a lot at the Xbox Live usage over the past several months, and this is really working with the Gamer DNA audience and their data, but we looked at usage of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 and compared it with some of the other popular titles over the holiday season. Clearly, this shows between 14 and 16% of users of Xbox Live were playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 during the month of December on any given day. And you can see most other titles were nowhere even near that. They were generally around the 1 to 2% range. And obviously for other titles, they were much lower than that. And really what that shows us is that, Modern Warfare 2, clearly at a $60 price tag, they're undervaluing themselves based on the fact that consumers are able to continue to play that again and again. Then you have another product, World of Warcraft, which I think is a very different beast in the sense that they've been able to monetize that usage via a $15 a month fee over now I think they're going into their 6th year of operation. And when we look at the survey of North American and European gamers that we conducted in the January-February timeframe, I think you can clearly see, obviously this is looking at how many subscribers said they are current subscribers and how many said they are former subscribers. And 58% said they were who identified themselves as having been subscribers, 58% said they were former subscribers versus 42% that are current subscribers. And you say, well, that's a pretty high ratio of lapsed subscribers, but you compare it with the other games out there in World of Warcraft. The only other game that came close really was EVE Online. And then you look at the other stat of how many people said, oh, I never used World of Warcraft. Only 42% of gamers said they'd never used World of Warcraft versus some of the other games, which were up over 80% of the consumers that said they'd never used it. And of those, most of them said they were no longer subscribers. So clearly, World of Warcraft, and just based on that usage of $15 a month, so that comes out to $180 a year. And you obviously could be generating a lot more money from that if you got a product of the level of a World of Warcraft, where, you have some users that they'll only play 30 hours a whole year. And if that comes out to $6 an hour, still, compared to going to a movie, that's pretty good. But if they're playing it for 500, 1,000 hours a year, that's 36 cents an hour, 18 cents an hour. I mean, that's nothing in terms of entertainment. And so really, I think the focus is how do you get those heavy users to pay more? And I think we've seen that Blizzard is clearly looking at that with their announcement. They're going to start making pets available in World of Warcraft. And I think, most companies that are smart are going to be looking at ways that they can capture that heavy usage or revenue from it. The other thing that we really have noticed is how comfortable gamers have become in buying in-game goods. So in our survey, we asked, have you ever purchased an in-game good that is not a full game but consists of a game component such as virtual currency, avatars, characters, items, weapons, vehicles, extra levels, etc.? 60% of consumers said yes, they had, of those that responded, and only 40% said they never had. And that, obviously, these are core gamers. These are the consumers out there that are actually buying products. But it's clear that they are really getting comfortable buying in-game goods. And I think, 2 years ago we would have been shocked in the United States or Europe to find those type of levels of purchase. And furthermore, they're making purchase recently. 80% of these in-game good buyers said they've purchased in the past 3 months. You can see under amount spent, only 20% said they have not spent any money on in-game goods in the past 3 months. This is just among the people that have purchased in-game goods. But clearly, this is something that's a fairly recent activity for these gamers. And I think that it is an indication that we are really we're really starting to reach a tipping point where the core gamers are starting to realize that, yeah, that you can buy a virtual good and it can enhance the game experience, and it's something that they want to do on a regular basis. In terms of the type of games, free-to-play games, we were seeing a great increase in the popularity of those. So 53% said they're current users of free-to-play games. I think one thing you'd like to follow up on is that 33% that said they used to play them but no longer play them. I think a good question for those groups is why did they quit playing them, and that would make a great follow-up research question. But then you only have about 14% that said they never play free-to-play games, and really that's just a real interesting number. And once again, I must say these are much higher than the general population, but these are the gamers that are the most active gamers out there. Then we asked users, okay, you play these free-to-play games. Have you ever paid for them? So how many people are just free players versus how many people actually spend money on buying these virtual goods? And I think you can see, obviously, these are, once again, core gamers, so the ratio is going to be much higher than if you did the general population. But I think it shows you what type of products they are spending money on. It was pretty equal in terms of what products they tried. But you can see, obviously, that some of the Zynga games, they haven't converted as many people to paying users as some of the games at the top, which I think the RuneScapes and the Club Pogos follow a little different business model in that they have an optional subscription, which we counted in our survey as a way to that would count as a paying user if they paid RuneScape the $5 a month or whatever. So clearly, that does well. But you look at some of those games from Nexon, the MapleStory and Combat Arms. I mean, 20% of the users who said they tried the games have said that they've actually paid to play those games, which I think shows that not these users, if they're gamers, I think the theory is they are willing to pay if they like the product. Another thing we found in our research is that people who own an iPhone and iPod Touch, gamers, they tended to prefer the iPod Touch if they own the system. I think about 24% of the respondents said they owned either an iPhone or iPod Touch, but the majority of them tended towards the iPod Touch. But what was most impressive was that 60% of those people said they'd bought a game for their iPhone or iPod Touch in the past 3 months. And really, that was very surprising for us. But when you think about it, clearly, the iPod Touch and what's Apple's created with that ecosystem of the iPhone and the iPod Touch, it's really about providing a common platform for the delivery of games. And I think that makes it much different than what we've seen in the mobile market in the past, is really having both those platforms that consumers can purchase from. And it's clear that the iPod Touch is a very important part of what Apple is doing going forward. Then on the console side, once again, Xbox 360 owners, they're buying digital content. So we asked how many have purchased a full downloadable game that costs more than $10? How many have purchased a game or game components that are priced under $10? How many have purchased any type of downloadable game, no matter what the price? And clearly, it's 66% said they'd bought a digital game or game component online. But it's broken down fairly evenly between buying the individual game components, and there's a fairly large percent that's 43% that bought a game that was priced at $10 or more. And I think that that's quite surprising in the sense that you think, they'd probably tend to want to purchase games that are priced in the $5 to $10 range. But clearly, I think consumers are becoming more comfortable buying digital content online for a higher price tag.